Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Sadly, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started Together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate for a cure for all those still battling Parkinson today and their families, because I believe no one is ever alone in this fight for a cure. Today's guests are just incredible, beautiful, and fabulous, and just such an honor to have them. I think this is a conversation I feel it's not had enough, and one that should be at the forefront of everyone's tongues and fingers and really thoughts, because they're, I feel, shaping the world and changing it for the better. So just want to welcome both you doctors to the show, and maybe we could start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Koji Sode. I'm faculty in the Joint Department of Biomedical Engineering, UNC Chapel Hill and North Carolina State University. Yeah, I'm working in this university as the research, the faculty, the PI, organizing a laboratory dedicating of the biomolecular engineering to create a nice sensing principle for several types of disease. And one of the recent research topics is about the levodopa or L-dopa sensor, which is the gold standard and the most popular medicine for treatment of the Parkinson's disease. And detail will be David will describe it more on that. But I just like briefly introduce my relationship and why I'm working in this field of the levodopa sensing. My first experience or occasion to know about Parkinson's disease back to 1984, Los Angeles Olympic. Did you remember on that one? So that's 1984. When I was a graduate student, I watched Los Angeles Olympic and see in the last anchor in the torch was the former hero Cassius Clay.
Yep.
I knew him because I love martial arts, watching wrestling, boxing, and I knew him that he is a fantastic and a crazy champion, boxer, fighting with a professional wrestling people in Japan with the kicking and something. And that's what was fighting. I'm impressed. But the last person, when I saw him after a while, I didn't know he's been suffering from the Parkinson's disease and see how was that. And after a while, I didn't have a chance to consider about the Parkinson's disease while engaged in several types of academic research work. But that's happened in my family. I lost my father after he suffered from Parkinsonian symptom. That was 1999. It's been a while, more than 25 years ago. And we didn't know what happened to him. At this time, we didn't have so much information. And then the physician diagnosed him as, okay, he could be the Parkinson's disease or Parkinsonian disease symptom. And then he received the medication that was levodopa. And he was already in some of the progress stage, so that adjusting his symptom with medicine was so difficult. But at this time, I didn't have any information about Parkinson's disease or levodopa, etc., etc. And with other complication, he passed away after a while of the suffering of this type of thing. And then I decided, okay, what is this understanding what is this disease and how we can contribute on this field. Starting from the study of the protein molecule, peptide molecule, is a causative molecule of Parkinson's disease, that is alpha-synuclein, and alpha-synuclein oligomer formation of the amyloid formation, toxicity measurement. That's type of the study I done while I was in Japan. Actually, I'm here in North Carolina since 2018. Before that, I have more than 30 years academic history in Japan, in Japanese university. But at this time, I'm working with more on the causative protein of Parkinson's disease. So that's how to prevent the progression of Parkinson's disease. That's type of thing I've done. But after a while, I'm studying here with some occasion. I was so lucky to have found a nice molecule which is specifically able to monitor levodopa, dopamine. And then back to my memory, and I just considering about the current fantastic monitoring system, glucose and insulin infusion pump makes possible automatically insulin delivery system to control glycemic level constant. And David, thinking about, oh, what if we are able to control levodopa level while we are able to monitor levodopa, then we are able to create continuous infusion and controlling of levodopa to keep a nice quality of life to Parkinson's disease with this gold standard medicine. That was a starting point with discussing about this technology, and then we're starting. So that's my introduction as introducing about my relationship with Parkinson's disease.
I do want to say and hope you're okay with it, but maybe we could dedicate today in memory of your father. I think through all of our work, we make sure that everyone's memory is never forgotten due to Parkinson's. And I'm so, again, grateful for all the knowledge that you're bringing to us today. Thank you, sir. I don't know how you're going to follow that, Professor. So now we can hear about your background, please.
Yeah. So, my background, from a professional standpoint, I'm a biomedical engineer. Also did my Ph.D. under the guidance of Professor Sode. Finished last year actually, so now I'm a postdoc research associate with Professor Sode. I personally don't have a major connection with Parkinson's, but I myself am type 1 diabetic, which is where a lot of this came from. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 9 years old. And I tell everyone, I remember the change in quality of life that came with, as Sode was mentioning, Professor Sode, the continuous glucose monitor. So, I went from testing my blood sugar 10, 12, 15 times a day to adjust my blood sugar with insulin. The advent of the CGM, the advent of the continuous insulin pump, and the advent of the closed loop, system where we can now, my sensor talks to my phone, talks to my pump. It does that for me. I tell everyone it gave me power of the disease. Before that, everything in your life is built around diabetes. I eat in a pattern. You get up in the middle of the night to test your blood sugar every night, multiple times a night. I joke I still get up every night at 2 a.m. as a habit, even though I don't need to anymore. It's just did it for so long in my life. And I remember the moment that it's like, wow, I don't have to think about my disease. And not only that, the amount of insulin I need, that therapeutic window, very similar to, we draw parallels with levodopa. Too much insulin, my blood sugar goes low. It's very poor outcomes for me. Too little insulin, I have high blood sugar. You could draw a lot of parallels with, Parkinson's. We found with, too much levodopa, you get dyskinesia, nausea. Too little, you of course have your Parkinson's symptoms. So, looking at my life, we've thought and we've talked, me so many times about, is there a way we could develop a similar technology to help another disease state? And we, as Sode mentioned, we stumbled upon this incredible protein that could measure levodopa with high accuracy, high specificity. And so we kind of thought, could we create that similar quality of life for levodopa, for Parkinson patients who take levodopa regularly, where you now have a device that could tell you, hey, you need more levodopa, you need more medication at this point, or could warn you in advance, you're going to have you on the onset of symptoms due to too much or too little levodopa. And to help, give patients and, caregivers like both of yourselves at some point, more knowledge to that black box that is Parkinson's disease, more knowledge to say, okay, I now know when to intervene and when not to intervene with the disease state. So, fast forward, I actually, also side funny related story, small world. I knew Dr. Sode during my undergrad, way back in 2015.
10 years already.
He was working with my old PI I was running for, and I was his chauffeur, picking him up in Arizona. I went to work for Medtronic, so I worked for Medtronic, working on the continuous glucose monitors at Medtronic, and that's where I learned so much about how to build these closed loop systems, how they work, how they function, how patients, like myself, beyond the benefit. And then I decided to come back to my PhD, and I saw that Dr. Sode had come to UNC, and small world came over here, and so that's kind of how all this has kind of serendipitously aligned. You know, the stars aligned in a lot of ways for all this to work out for us. So
I think the Parkinson's community is lucky to have both of you out there fighting and really researching. Where are you at, if you're allowed to say a lot of this, but where are you at this point with the possibility of this Parkinson type technology? I'm really excited because 10 years ago when my mother was, battling and kind of losing her fight, they didn't have this kind of technology then. So it is great and inspiring to see that we are making some huge grounds, but just curious if you are able to tell us, what you said sounds incredible. Is it something that's feasibly going to be out shortly? Or I don't know again what you're allowed to say yet or not. So I'm an attorney and we make sure and protect you and everybody listening. So just curious, please share how quickly this could be a possibility in the world.
yeah, so I first want to say that there are other groups also working on this. As much as we're focused on it, there are some other fantastic research groups that are dedicated to the device, the biotechnology side for this disease state. And for our particular case, we are we recently were able to publish our work on the enzyme and the ability to measure levodopa in a variety of different Oh, yep. In a variety of different
We plan ahead here. So
and so this one was just done. Huge shout out to Dr. Yonts. He's a neurologist here at UNC. He has been really guiding us and championing our work in how it will be used in application. And also a big shout out to Dr. Satomura, who is a collaborator of ours from Japan, an old colleague of Sode, who has spent his big part of his career, from my understanding, working on this enzyme, developing these proteins. And we had the luxury of putting them together. It's definitely, drawing parallels to diabetes. It's not, I would say, around the corner. It's definitely years out. If you were to draw a parallel with type 1 diabetes, we are where they were probably in the early 90s, and the first CGM was not approved until 2002, 2003. So we hope that we could truncate that time because of all we've learned from diabetes and all we've learned from, Parkinson's in the past decade. So, we're transitioning toward trying to do, I would say, the first in vivo tests with animal models is where we are in terms of the device.
And I just want to share with everyone listening, we will share both links to the levodopa article, a lot of both of your research, so everyone can also look more into it. I am fascinated by a lot of this. Not always easy for regular people to understand because it's so technical, but I think having you both here to talk us through it is really incredible. Maybe before we even get much more deep into this, can you explain to everyone what a biomedical engineer is? Because if I say it 5 times fast, I think I'll lose half our audience.
Biomedical engineering is some of the research area and academic area to connect engineering and medicine. So in medicine, say clinician diagnose patient and decide on the treatment, and then watching and diagnosing treatment and repeating to cure disease or getting better with the symptom. That is the role of the clinician and the doctor. Engineering or creating some new technology, devices, molecule, principle, which useful for several type of technology, even in medicine or thermometer, could be glucose sensor, could be some of the CT scanning, etc., etc. But if these two technology or two roles are separately working, we don't have appropriately technology which will be acknowledged by the patient. Patient-oriented device or medicine development is the most important thing. So that to realize the quality of the life of the patient and the life in the society, we decided to create a new area called biomedical engineering. That is the fusion of two areas, medicine and engineering. So that is the biomedical engineering. And here in UNC and NC State, UNC have the School of Medicine, School of Arts and Science, College of Arts and Science. North Carolina State University has a nationwide, very famous College of Engineering. So that in North Carolina, we decided to create a new department, joint department of biomedical engineering, by creating a one department which belongs to the two universities. And that is our joint department where we are working.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we might, I hope, have some future students here listening. So it's very exciting. What is it like? Maybe you could tell us, maybe one of you could take the positive and negative, but seeing your research applied in reality and seeing it kind of, one of you maybe can touch on a positive, maybe a great outcome, and then the other maybe talk about the tougher times, because this is not always easy. A lot of the work you do is changing lives, and sometimes, as everyone listening knows, with Parkinson's, it's a struggle, and it's very, you give, I mean, we tried everything that I knew of with my mother, and every time we had, that little hope, it kind of fell apart when it didn't work out, and it's hard to get more hope after each thing fell. So I'm just really curious, pretending I'm sitting in the office with you as a researcher, what is it like, the moment? And maybe some of it you haven't found the results or heard back, because this stuff takes decades, as you both know better than me. But I'm just curious, what's that feeling in your heart or in your, you must be kind of excited when the positive versus negative.
I'll talk on the negative end on terms of the research. I think that it is a very slow and patient grind of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Right now, in the paper we kind of talk about it. We fabricate these sensors on micro wires, similar design as a CGM. They're 200 micrometers in diameter, as thin as your hair, and I think I have a pile, I say, the graveyard of my failed builds, the ones that didn't work. And I think there might be 800, 500, 800 sensors that we built trying to get this to work in a way that, we want it to work so that we could use it for patients, and a form factor and a design and that gives the outcomes that we want, that we could then translate for patients. And I would say a negative end, that end is that, you know, that paper is 2 years of work trying to get to that one outcome, and then it's that now the next mountain is in front of us, and how do we get over that next mountain? And I'll let you know. And there's a lot of positives, of course, and I'll let Sode talk on some of the positive, the fun parts of the research and the outcomes, and
Yeah, so not only about this research one, but say regarding Parkinson's disease or other say neurodegenerative disease, including Alzheimer's disease, the most say interest say focusing area is how to prevent progression. So Parkinson's disease as well as Alzheimer's disease. Now we have therapeutic antibodies. This is the most advanced technology. Maybe most advanced technology for Parkinson's disease could be the regeneration medicine for the implanting or the replacing of a neuron cell, or that type of the implantation could be a most advanced technology. But the some commercial or available, say already FDA approved therapy for the Alzheimer's disease is still only available for the very limited number of the patient, I guess. It's not for everybody. So we say we are focusing so a gold standard medicine, the Parkinson's disease. So that's our hope that's if we are able to provide some innovative technology for this very gold standard, I guess we can contribute so many patients. That's our hope. That's of course the technology, what we are showing here, the molecule, the enzyme, etc. These are really say innovative technology. But the target levodopa, since 1967, levodopa has been utilized as the medicine. Although we didn't have any change. Recently have very interesting and very promising technology was proposed from AbbVie. But I guess we are now encountering an occasion to change the therapy the way of the therapy, although we are using the very old, 70 years old medicine to change the life of the Parkinson's disease. I guess that is fortunate for us to have this type of location. That is one of the say pros.
Yeah, to add to that, in the pros, it is really exciting where, the obvious pro is, again, someone who, when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, with type 1 diabetes, to now, I've had the opportunity to live through the advent of these technologies. When I was first diagnosed, it was a syringe giving yourself shots and testing your blood sugar, and to now, I joke with my wife. My wife, she's able to see my blood sugars as well, and message me, "Hey, Dave, is everything okay?" If something's, if I'm not responding and the blood sugar is low, to alert her and me. The to the ability to be able to be maybe even a small part of that for someone else, another disease state, is very exciting. It is a continual motivator. It's like where it allows you to get through those 800 sensors I have on my desk that didn't work to learn and test and change the formula and change the design and get to where we are.
Thank you. And now, how can individuals join different, clinical studies and different types of research? I don't know the one you're currently doing. I think you mentioned more technology. Do you still need individuals to kind of, join in on these trials?
I'll say one thing that I've learned over the last year and a half is I read a few papers. I read a lot of literature on Parkinson's to try to learn. And I'll say one thing, as an engineer that's working and building this, is honestly what you are doing, George, and others, is it's really hard to understand where our technology could be used without hearing about patient and caregiver experience. That is something that, I will say, major shout out to yourself. And, we've had the opportunity to meet with several patients and patient advocates and doctors that have advocated for what patients need. And that is really what guides, as I said, biomedical engineers. Our guiding focus is, how do we design something that is going to be useful for patients, that's going to benefit their life, benefit their quality of life. So, we don't have ourselves in anything, as I was saying, the clinical trials are not at that stage. But in terms of what's valuable, I say is, if you are a patient, if you are a patient advocate, share those stories and share that knowledge so that, those that are able to and want to could direct our focus and energy in a way that helps.
And when would this be introduced to a patient? Is it not yet because you have to have it all, approved? And then, so would a doctor bring it up, or maybe you could clue in a lot of us clueless people like me on this? Because unfortunately, again, I get it a lot. Why do I still advocate when, I can't bring my mother back? But as we spoke about earlier, I still care about everyone else still battling Parkinson today. And I even, someone pointed out a guess, which kind of didn't even think about it. We also need a cure so our children and their children don't have to keep battling this disease. And a lot of time we forget that because we really want to obviously concentrate on those battling today. But then when you throw in, young onset, different races, gender, and how Parkinson doesn't discriminate, we're from Japan to the US to China, people are getting it, and it seems to be growing throughout the world, which is kind of very sad. So I'm just curious that, when would this, hopefully maybe a year, I know you might not even know, when would it be introduced, and how would our listeners, learn about or even try to use these types of beautiful technologies?
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, for us, 3 to 5, I will shout out, there's another, again, we're not alone trying to develop this technology. There are other groups. I do want to shout, UCSD. There is Professor Joseph Wang, who's also working on this technology. The same goal as us, to try to alleviate the burden of patients and improve outcomes. And so I would say they're another group that is in a similar spot where we are trying to push this forward. And we're worth keeping eyes on both groups, I would say, because we're both trying to get to that same spot. But 3 to 5 years, I think, is where we're trying to look forward to try to put first in human for the continuous monitoring.
So the first example should be or could be in, say, professional use. The clinician will provide this type of devices occasion to adapt the patient, and once it works, and then it's going to be more popular. So all the progression align to be there.
One thing I learned in this journey, the 5 years advocating, is that we are really and should be all a team and a family in this fight. Everybody wants a cure. There's no, not a political thing, thankfully. And obviously there are things, gaining funding and things that are, but I think it's beautiful if everybody, joins together and supports you. And I'm hoping through this show, if we even reach one person who wasn't aware, they're going to learn a lot. And like, I told my wife before we started the show, I'm so excited to be even in a virtual room with the both of you because of your education experience and life story. It just you've already changed my world just for our talk today. So I wanted to again thank you both. Before we go kind of to the last fun, I mean I think the whole show's fun, but the fun section. Is there any other areas you wanted to discuss about the research that I didn't get to, or any kind of message you'd like to, leave the community? We reach a lot of individuals, and I do hope everyone listening will share this. We don't want anything in return, but for you to now know, which I never said before, that there are beautiful, educated, and really incredible, passionate people like our doctors here today who are working literally day and night for all of you. And I hope you'll also support the doctors.
Yeah, nothing to add from us on it.
Yeah.
Thank you also.
I, I mean, I can listen to both of you for 16 hours and then no one will ever want to hear me, and you guys, you'll both be tired of me too. But I do have a few fun kind of questions. Maybe we could just switch off because I don't want to keep you. Everyone knows we're not live, but it's a Friday, and the doctors have been really incredibly gracious to share their Friday afternoon with us. So I want to again thank you and thank your family because I don't think any of us could really advocate or do this beautiful work that you're changing the world if it wasn't for the support of your families and friends and the university. So we want to thank all the universities also involved. Uh, I mean, this is a tough one, but how do you think we can achieve more Parkinson's awareness throughout the world with areas that you're working on? Because I still think till a light bulb hit me, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I never even thought, why don't I try to reach out to some of these, incredible people who are in the labs and doing this technology. I think we need a lot more of this in the world, and now I'm going to definitely share it. And our show is different, no offense to others, but we don't just kind of put it up there and say, see you later. I try to share it over and over and over because it's very important in this conversation towards a cure. And what you're both doing can't end after the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave the show today. It has to continue. So just curious, how do we get more awareness so that if someone sees your research, sees the article, and listens to this, they'll understand it, completely.
I mean,
No,
yeah,
no,
that's a tough question. It's a great question. I would start with individuals like you. It's you're really spreading the word. You know, I would say, for me, there's a lot of other disease states, a lot of other chronic illnesses that you look at the technology that's helped them and the solutions that's helped them and see, is there a parallel that you could draw for this disease state? One of the ones that we use a lot in our lab is type 1 diabetes and Parkinson's, where I'm type 1 diabetic, it's chronic, there's no cure. There's only one really gold standard therapy, insulin therapy. And that's kind of how this for us looked at, was other disease states that had solutions that might be able to benefit us. So, and that's one thing I would say, to help get awareness, other technology out there, is look beyond the scope of what's in Parkinson's now, but maybe Alzheimer's, diabetes, other cardiovascular illnesses that might have solutions.
Thank you. And this one be a tough one, but for Dr. Sode, is there one moment or most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work today? Not just with awareness, but your research. Is there that one special moment in your heart that you kind of, I know there might be multiple, but is there one that we could share with the audience?
Oh, that's as a researcher, or yeah.
Mm.
I'm attending several conference, but in the beginning, when I attended one conference, I met some person coming to me after my talk, and when he said to me, "This is my first time to meet you, but I know you since I know you about your research topics since I read your research article." That's, yeah, inspired me. Oh, research article publication is so important to say get to know about, not about me, about research and results, the academic purpose. And here, for example, podcasting, etc., is a wonderful occasion for those who didn't have a chance to meet anybody from the biomedical engineering, anybody doesn't know about biosensor. But it could be a trigger to understand of some of the technology who has never met about, and a chance to have a meet or understand about that technology. If this could be the trigger to interested in the world, say biomolecular engineering, biosensor, or continuous monitoring or closed loop system. I'm very happy to introduce more about that, and it could be for your occasion to starting with some new activity. So I mean that my impression is that the publication or broadcasting, and then people knew me before I met in person. That is my first impression and my first say big experience that since I have been working in this type of the role.
Thank you. That's a beautiful story, and I appreciate it. Now we'll make sure you're also 10 more years. Someone from our audience will come up to you at a conference and also thank you. Dr. Probst, here's a good one for you. If you could speak to a before doctor, but earlier, 10 years ago, Mr. you were Mr. Probst, before your professor, what would you say to your younger self about what you now learn today? Is there something you might have changed, or these are the fun questions that I warned you, and you
Oh.
are allowed to say you don't want to answer.
No, I was just talking to myself 10 years ago. Oh goodness. There's a lot of things.
I had a picture of you was 10 years ago.
You do. Yeah. I would probably say don't get emotionally attached to the hair. 10 years ago, I had hair much more reminiscent of Dr. Sode. It's very thick and full, is what I would say. It's my dad used to always tell me the hair's falling off, and I would say it's 10
Might be
years is your timer.
might be from the stress of the research and how how badly you want to help, which I appreciate. For
You
either,
know, I had a full head of hair before starting my Ph.D. with Professor Sode.
my hair is so short that I probably also lost it all when I was doing my PhD. Here's one that is tough, but do you either of you have a burning question inside about, your job or research or even the future that you just haven't even either asked yet or just don't think anyone can answer? So, again, is there something burning in your heart or passion, because you're both very passionate like I am, that you wish you could have an answer to today, but you just haven't asked the question because you don't think someone can respond yet, if that makes sense?
That's a tough one. There's
I used to worked at the prosecutor's office, so at least I
yeah,
know.
that's a tough question. I have a lot of questions that aren't yet answered that are, I think that hmm.
Yeah, answering your question, a company with a responsibility. That's why.
I would say it's probably a similar question a lot of people have is, when is that experiment going to occur for, that gives you that cure or gives you that disease altering therapy or instrument that it's like, wow, we're on the right path. Um, it's I imagine we spent almost 2 years to that paper, and it would be awesome. It was awesome to be able to know, are we in the right direction, or is it 3 years from now where we're like, wow, we missed something that's going to pull it all back? That would probably be the question that would be love to be answered. It's unanswerable until you go and try to figure it out, but it would
I
be great to know now.
appreciate your honesty. And this could be for both of you together, which you'll like. If you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it? And what actor would play your role? Told you we can't just be all scientific and serious. We got to have a little fun, or I wouldn't be doing the show.
Oh man.
And that's why we do not supply the questions before, because it's more spontaneity.
That's another tough one. What would be the name of your
I could picture both of you in the lab and on TV.
movie about you?
And what actor would play a role?
What actor would play you?
Hey, one day you're gonna find the cure, and we're gonna need you both to be involved with this movie. So I'll be the first one to get popcorn in the front row.
Man.
You're probably, you've both done some incredible work and questions, but you never had these before. That's why we're unique.
Yeah, I've never been asked that
Interesting.
before.
If I could get anyone out there listening, caregivers or people with Parkinson's, to smile for a moment with all of us together, then we've done our job.
What would the movie ninja me?
Has to have genetic, it has to have a bio something,
Yeah.
biosensors and medical.
Idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I've never thought about
I stumped two PhDs who have immaculate experience in education. Thank you.
that. I've answered hundreds of questions under pressure. I am stumped at the moment for words.
No, I really appreciate both of your time, and I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I was hoping maybe together one of you can, if we could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
You know,
Scientist, technology engineer, we are always putting our effort as much as possible and the best as we can. And we hope that every day a single step we are forwarding. So hope is there. And we are serious. And it's not simply because of the promotion, because of the say at grant, etc. No, we have our emotional motivation that we would like to cure, will contribute for the patient. So that's the yeah.
Thank you.
Believing in science, believe in technology, and also we believe in nature. So nature give us some answer, and we will provide some technology based on the engineering. So
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank both of you and everyone for listening. This has been so enlightening, educational, and really gives me hope. And I've learned again so much from both of you today. I do hope this conversation continues. So we'll have to come back when it's approved, and I'll still be out there fighting, or until there's a cure at everybody's doorsteps around the world. Again, I just want to thank both of you and our listeners. I have a little message we say at the end of the show to you two for all you do, and to everybody out there still with us and fighting the good fight. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the professors, will advocate for you, and together I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always say I'm just getting started, because like both of you, even though we've been doing this for some time, some days it might be tough, the hours, the hard work, and maybe some of the responses, like you mentioned, doctor, that, you don't have the answer you want soon enough, but we kind of all forget it for a moment and realize the goal, and we keep fighting and we keep going and we keep putting those tough hours in. And for that, I'll be forever grateful for both of you. And again, such an honor to be with you today. And again, we'll always be here fighting right by your side if you ever need anything too. So thank you again.
thank you.
thank you.
And thank you to everyone for listening. Hope you've enjoyed this. It's kind of an educational series we're shifting to. We have a lot of incredible individuals researching today, and these are the people who will bring the future and change it for the better. So thank you for listening. Please, again, you can go to the links I'm going to provide to see both of the professors' research, share it, read it, and they're just incredible inspirations to me. They changed my life today forever. And I'm going to go back and realize we do still have hope in memory of my mother and all those, like the professor's father, and also all of you who are still battling this disease. We won't give up. We'll always be on your side. And thank you all again. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son, George. Please stay tuned. We have a lot more work to do, and I won't rest till the cure is at everyone's doorsteps around the world. Thank you, Thanks, doctor.
Thank you.